Have you ever watched your quiet suburban dream home get slapped with a foreclosure notice because one woman decided your brand new windows were a crime against neighborhood perfection? What if the approval letter you treasured suddenly vanished in a cloud of conditional nonsense from the HOA queen, who smiled like a saint while sharpening her claws? And the darkest twist of all, what if that same pearl-clutching Karen had been quietly auctioning off houses for years, targeting anyone who didn't bow low enough, until one fed-up dad turned her empire of fake rules into federal handcuffs? The sun was shining the day I moved into Oak Ridge Estates, Ohio, like the whole neighborhood was posing for a real estate brochure. White fences, kids on bikes, the faint smell of fresh-cut grass mixed with passive-aggressive perfection. After the divorce, I just wanted peace for me and my 10-year-old daughter Lily. The 1970s rancher was a steal, but those original windows leaked heat like a sieve. As a union electrician who'd wired half the city, I knew exactly what to do. I picked energy-efficient replacements that matched the old style down to the last mullion, submitted every photo, spec sheet, and permit the HOA demanded. Victoria Hargrove herself, president, self-appointed guardian of community values, reviewed it at the monthly meeting. She stood there in her pastel cardigan and pearls, voice dripping honey. "We appreciate homeowners who enhance our shared aesthetic, Ryan." Approved. She even shook my hand like we were old friends. I felt like I'd finally won one. 14 days later, the new windows sparkled under the porch light. Lily and I sat outside eating ice cream, watching the sunset bounce off that glass like it was paid to perform. Pure suburban bliss. Then the doorbell rang. Clipboard in one manicured hand, smile tight enough to crack porcelain. "Ryan, darling, I'm afraid your modifications are unacceptable." I laughed at first, thought it was a joke. Held up the signed approval letter. "You approved these yourself." Her eyes flicked over it like it was yesterday's trash. "Approval was conditional on full board ratification, dear. These windows disrupt the historical harmony of Oak Ridge Estates." Historical harmony? The letter said nothing about conditions. That was lesson number 1 delivered with a smile. In HOA land, rules are written in invisible ink that only appears when they want to punish you. I walked into the next board meeting ready to talk sense. The community center smelled of burnt coffee and fear. Folding chairs squeaked under nervous neighbors clutching their little violation notices like shields. Victoria presided like a queen on her throne, passing out fines like candy at Halloween. $500 for my windows. Then $1,000 next month. I scanned the room for allies. People I'd waved to at the mailbox, shared a beer with at the block party. Every single one suddenly found the floor fascinating. One guy actually pretended to tie his shoe when I caught his eye. Victoria's voice floated over the silence, sweet as spoiled milk. "We're all family here in Oak Ridge, family with standards." Family. Right. Finds you into bankruptcy. That night I couldn't sleep. Tired at breakfast. I told her it was just grown-up stuff. But inside I started digging. Every letter, every email, every meeting minute. I scanned and saved it all in a folder I labeled insurance. If Victoria wanted to play games, I'd learn the rules better than she did. What I found made my stomach turn. It had the exact same windows I installed. No fines. Just me. The pattern was obvious once you looked. Single parents, immigrant families, anyone who didn't kiss the HOA ring. Blue-collar folks like me got the hammer. The rest got cookies at the annual picnic. Victoria wasn't enforcing covenants. She was playing favorites like a mean girl with a clipboard. Things escalated faster than I could blink. A lien appeared on my house overnight for unpaid fines. $2,000 just like that. Threat of foreclosure by Christmas. I called my neighbor Mrs. Old widow who grew prize roses and never bothered a soul. Her voice shook over the phone. Said my pink flamingos violated the aesthetic code. I moved them instead of fighting. Pink flamingos. I almost laughed, but the sound died in my throat. That night I stayed up reading Ohio property law until my eyes burned. Victoria had skipped the required notice period and cure opportunity. Straight up illegal. She was betting I'd be too broke or too scared to push back. Big mistake. I became obsessed. Into a war room. Walls covered in timelines, photos, printed emails. I filed public records requests and got the mother lode. An email chain from Victoria to the board that read like a mafia playbook. Target the renters and blue-collar types first. They can't afford lawyers. Another one bragged about how she'd bought 3 distressed properties on our street for pennies after driving the owners out with the same tricks. The kicker? Those houses had the exact same illegal windows she was crucifying me for. She'd even filed insurance claims on repairs she claimed were catastrophic. Greed wrapped in pearls. Smiled for the first time in months. Victoria thought she was untouchable. She had no idea I was building her coffin out of her own paperwork. Mrs. pulled her across her kitchen table one afternoon, eyes bright with quiet fury. I kept everything too, dear. Inside were years of her own harassment emails, fines, even a note where Victoria called her that stubborn old bat. We sat there laughing bitterly over tea while Lily played in the backyard. For the first time I didn't feel alone. I reached out to legal aid. Look at my evidence room and actually whistled. This isn't an HOA dispute, Ryan. This is textbook housing discrimination, and looks like racketeering on top. Federal housing discrimination. The day of the hearing, I walked into that county courthouse carrying boxes like a man on a mission. Victoria showed up in her best power suit, pearls gleaming, lawyer at her side looking bored. She actually smirked at me across the aisle, like she'd already won and was just here for the theater. Elena dropped the discrimination bomb in her opening statement. The judge's eyebrows shot up so fast I thought they'd hit the ceiling. Court recessed. Started frantically whispering on his phone, while she turned the color of old milk. When we reconvened, the judge dismissed their lien, referred the whole mess to federal investigators, and warned Victoria about abuse of authority. Whispers rippled through the gallery. For the first time. But she wasn't done. Retaliation got personal and ugly fast. Anonymous complaints flooded the city code office. Fake reports of unsafe conditions at my house. Then a private investigator started snapping pictures of Lily walking to school. Child Protective Services showed up on a bogus neglect claim. I invited the social worker in, offered her coffee, and walked her straight through my evidence room. She closed her notepad after 5 minutes and said quietly, "Keep fighting the good fight, Mr. Kessler." Victoria's fatal mistake wasn't the harassment, though. It was pure greed. She'd scooped up cheap. Forensic accountants traced the paper trail right back to her Shell LLC. Same illegal windows. 5 years of mail fraud, wire fraud, housing discrimination, and straight-up RICO violations stacked higher than her fines ever did. Former neighbors she'd driven out started calling me in tears when they realized it wasn't their fault, it was her pattern. Federal agents got involved. Victoria tried suing me for defamation. That just proved her ties to the LLC buying up the distressed homes. Then someone broke into my house and trashed the evidence room. Missed the cloud backups, though. Obstruction and witness intimidation added to the pile. I stayed calm through it all, documenting every new threat, every late-night panic attack I hid from Lily. Because that's what patient men do. We watch. The bully walks right into it smiling. The morning they arrested her was beautiful, clear blue sky, birds chirping like nothing was wrong. 6 a.m. Right on her perfect front lawn in Oak Ridge Estates. Handcuffs clicked while neighbors filmed from windows. Word spread like wildfire. Standing room only. Reporters, cameras, even folks from 3 towns over. The board announced Victoria's immediate resignation, the dissolution of her shady company, and the settlement. $75,000 to me, plus restitution checks to every family she'd targeted. Elena stood up and said it loud. This case sets a precedent. No more weaponizing HOA power for personal profit. I took the microphone last. That used to avoid my eyes. This wasn't about windows. I said, voice steady. It was about proving regular people can stand up to bullies when we document everything and refuse to stay silent. The room erupted. Mrs. Hard I thought my ribs would crack. Lily squeezed my hand, eyes shining. Carlos from down the street, who'd been fined for his own windows, ran for HOA president and won in a landslide. First order of business: transparency rules, financial audits, and a total ban on board members owning rental properties in the neighborhood. Mrs. Garden tours again. Flamingos proudly displayed. We even set up a legal defense fund for anyone else who got targeted. Oak Ridge Estates didn't look any different on the surface. Same white fences, same kids on bikes. But the air felt lighter. No more fear hanging over every mailbox. Lily started a college fund with part of the money. I finally slept through the night. Look, I'm no hero. Just a stubborn electrician with a stack of receipts and a daughter who deserved better. The real lesson? Bullies like Victoria only win when everyone stays quiet and scared. Document everything, speak up, and watch the house of cards they built on fake rules come crashing down. Stand together, and even the biggest Karen in the room can't win forever.